Chile here with Sirius Talis Moon. This is Mars hour. And your ascendant is 26 degrees Aries, conjoining Chiron and Aries in Aries. Venus is on the descendant, ruling the full moon. Now, Mars hour, Mars is opposing Uranus. And my prediction for this lunation was people underestimated how much a certain value is fixed. And I think this is especially after the Me Too. People that depended their entire life and being. And again, it's usually the result of their own disembodiment, due to traumas, due to many things. But they have underestimated how much something is a fixed value when it comes to women's rights, and with the moon, particularly around fertility. You see, what the omens I got was a woman that was not smelling so well down there, and her boyfriend was telling her it's unpleasant, but it was not a one-time thing. And as holistic health practitioner, I know the trajectory from now on. She will have to change. First, she will try to change nutrition. Then either she will have emotional eating and somehow run into either some jade egg teaching, tantra teaching, something that will tackle this. And her boyfriend will have to adjust, depending to what level he's able to adjust anything that was not along the line of healthy genitals and fluids, particularly female with this one, but also male. Anything that is not aligned with that has to go. I know I'm holistic health practitioner. For example, when I did apprenticeship, and of course there are volunteers, and we tried this exercise with Louis Hay that says, I agree to give up of the things that created this disease. Because disease is coping mechanism of the body. When a woman doesn't smell good, like there's like a skunk. Either you don't feed her well or you don't eat her well. And if you're dealing with cannibalistic people, then it smells, it's like a skunk, you know. To go, ga weg. As aromatherapist, I know scent creates boundaries. Now, here is the thing, which reminds me, let's put a scent that creates boundaries. And yes, lavender pups. Lavender smells a bit weird. Okay. It seems that I can use it clean, so it will not hold for too much. But here is the thing. It's, by the way, the Deacon of Taurus that has to do with scent and perfume. As holistic health practitioner, when people decide to treat something like that, and both sides have interest that this will be smelling good, the lavender is weird. I don't know. I hope it's. When it's close, it smells good. I don't know. Perhaps I need to use it before it's. Anyway. Now, another scent that's nice is mugwort, Artemisia herba alba. Yeah. And this one I don't put on the body, but on the clothes. Lavender diluted is okay, but this one is very strong scent. That is purifies, cleansing, shielding, protecting. Now, when people, and this is, smell is very important with this lunation, particularly smell. And when people go about this trajectory, I said I made this experiment and things came up, and I told to the person, you know what? Sometimes people sit in the lower back. You need to remove this Holocaust timeline. I did not know that they were involved, enmeshed, and infused with the rituals that have to do with Nazi occultism. And again, I don't know at what point, what happened, when happened. But they were doing that to finish PhD. Something to do with geological studies, forestation studies. Bless you. And my mom sneezed that this is true. That person was so triggered. He told me, you can't treat patient like that, ta 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 ta. And I thought, oh my God, it's a trigger. I definitely touched the exact accurate, because they were creating the Holocaust. And this person was like a prepper. Now here is the thing. That scent with the lunation, purifying that scent is going to be very important to purge what is not in alignment with that smelling good naturally. And the people underestimate how fixed is the value of willing consent. Austin Copper calls it the yoni lingam, and this is where the balance of passion and willing consent. This is why I call it the willing consent deacon. With Venus in Libra, it also denotes at the water. Now here's the thing. I have nothing against the people that bring the Kundalini up and invert the breathing and so on. That's not a problem. The issue starts here, where people try to turn the natural upside down so much so that they lose contact with the natural and the organic. What do I mean by that? The water, it's not peace. It is only peace when it's programmed and when there are warlock energies, because it's not the organic sexual energy. It's created in the kidneys. Any woman that watered knows it's different scent, different taste. If the piece is healthy, the piece is healthy, but those interventions in the sexual energy, they create something inorganic. And you know, the ideologies behind those Nazi occultism that do this intervention is also to make people pay for the water. Now it's very satirical because it's usually the men, and they usually ask it either from the women or the people they see as the feminine. Venus here conjoins the embodiment of Taurus and the water. Okay, Libra, kidneys, then the water is Scorpio. Okay, it's the water from the well. Okay, and some cultures worshipped that as the Amarita. So now, of course, this triggers many things. Even many people that were in, and you know, the programming that they do, they're not terrible with those programmings. Sometimes they do programming that person will feel aroused and so on, but the scent, okay, and the water, because they do that to control, to subjugate, to enslave. And here is, and really, as holistic health practitioner, time and again, those issues, people begin to heal overgrowth of yeast, then all the issues come up to be tended to. Including a femicide, wanting to do harm to women. People that are involved with that, what can I say? But this is where there could have been an underestimation of how much something is a value that is fixed. Will and consent, deacon of will and consent is in Taurus, middle deacon. It's not for nothing. Taurus is a fixed earth sign to do with fertility, conception, and so on. People that fumble with that, they create a monster and a skunk. And I had a friend that fumbled with that. Later, he told me, "You became a monster." I said, "Of course. You fumbled with something you shouldn't have." Even if he was not doing that to me, still, it would create some the energy in the energy field. And this is where, in this full moon, I saw many eurekas, and there are still people that find it difficult to accept that, and only the people that had their entire being built on that, so much so that if there is sexual sovereignty, the entire life endeavor completely falls out, only those people are going to have a hard time. Only those people stay in that hater energy. Some of them psychologists. And this is where now what is Uranus? Uranus is a smell of gas. Scent has a lot to do with gas because it's air. Those that, Eureka. Those that don't want to be in the gas chambers, they have to honor that scent of the feminine. I'm sorry it came out like that, but it's Mars is opposing Uranus. Yes, yes. For some people, they're not. You see, people that are not like completely ritually abused and programmed and so on. They just don't think so much. They're like excited, and that's okay. Yes, it's not. Didn't mean to dismantle the sensitive psyche of people, but those that do not honor the scent, which means that they're not supportive for good scent, they might be terminated by gas. This is what I receive. I don't. Again, I don't know if this is true or not, or it's just something that I kind of like. It's a eureka that came up. I also the pollution of the air is coming from ideologies. Uranus, air pollution in the cities. Okay, Uranus in its scientific technological form is coming from ideologies that also don't honor that scent, the scent of a woman. Okay. And again, it's not about gay or straight. If a person is gay, it's not even an issue, not even a problem. Unless they traffic women for business, then it's a problem. But here's particular scent and the water. And even some women begin to realize how much implication is that something is a fixed value, and how fixed is that value. For example, a lot of people thought, well, if I don't have a choice, then I will do this, I will do that. Maybe they even come to the terms of something and they say, no, I cannot do it. And this lunation really revealed it was almost like the final straw that broke the camel's back, because it was like, will that person cooperate under that circumstances, under that? What if we made that more pleasant so that they can do that? And then they saw what the person was doing with all of these things, particularly for targeted individuals as well. And they saw the demonstrations, like what is the person doing with what the situations to put them in, and they say, okay, this person is not, this person will murder people. Doesn't matter for what. We bring this charismatic, but nothing. They say, okay, I like you, but I will have to kill you if you try to violate my rights like that. Nothing, no extortion, nothing. Because that is the essence of life. Even on a plane, okay? They say always to the parent, put the mask of air. Okay, put the air mask first so that you can save the child. And here, what was spotted with this one is how much of a fixed value is that value to do, particularly with what I said, and how far would the people that this is a value for them would go to assert that value. And I said even previous, the people underestimated. They underestimated this. You think about a person, okay, that went from one workplace to another. Any workplace had some sort of corruption. That person said, it bothers me. I want to do a job. I want to actually do something meaningful, kind of like a Gen Zer. Then there's a war, that person goes to another country, people say, you can work for us, but we do this, we do that. And then that person goes into something that can only be described as an erupting volcano state. It can also, another situation, a person is separating, let's say, from relationships. Any toxic relationship, gaslight and whatnot, they separate. Then they find out somebody that has been decade-long friend begins to demonstrate those behaviors. They walk out, block, like a Slavic girl, but without the gold digging. One sudden day, c'est tout. Now, what would happen if they would have to set boundaries also on an energy level? Everybody knows what would happen. The straw that broke the camel's back. A megalithic explosion. This is where Venus is squaring Pluto. Okay, it's a crisis. And the crisis is applying, because to purge those things is creating a crisis. Because we understand so many things are reliant on violation of that core fixed value that cannot be negotiated. This is, by the way, the Deacon of Libra of things that cannot be negotiated. Why speak I here? Because fairness in trade is requiring something that is the end of the negotiation. Okay, it's the Deacon of Libra where one does not negotiate. Now, as long as they don't violate sovereignty or women's rights, not by the image, by the essence. And this is where this, when Mars was here, NATO talked about the fact that their Article 5 practically has been invoked and they will respond in their own time and place. And it was fractions of a millisecond before they negotiated, but they no longer negotiated, they explained their stand. The first Deacon of Libra, we are diplomatic. We are trying to adjust, to harmonize, to adjust, to go, to put our best foot forward. Middle Deacon, we balance between our own interest. For some, we need to withdraw, and for some, as we withdraw in one place, we can actually be more giving in another. The last Deacon of Libra is where we no longer negotiate. This was the Deacon that when Lilith was here, there was the case of the jurisdiction that completely upturned things in France. Okay? I think it was Giselle's case. Giselle? people thought that they could somehow claim that under anesthesia rape is okay because the patient doesn't feel. Didn't work. And she had the hidden disease, chronic disease. Because, again, sexual boundary violation is non-negotiable. Why do people use sexual boundary violation when they want to create mind control? Because this is the threshold of identity. And this why this value is fixed after the I am of Aries comes Venus. First comes the garden. First decan of Taurus is the garden. Then comes the will and consent. Then comes balancing spirit and matter. It's impossible to balance spirit and matter without will and consent. This is why in the third decan we have a story of Medusa Gorgon. It's only in the ages where they would use perpetual war on cosmic level that we see Medusa Gorgon as the raped and murdered. The pantheon, with all due respect, was not balanced. We had the Circe story, we had scare stories. We had Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. And this is why in that era, even Egyptian era, Beta Persei, particularly the eclipses, were considered days of dead bodies upon dead bodies, transits to Beta Persei. And indeed we saw. Then we would go to speech, Gemini. And speech impairments often are to do with those violations. Now, this is, with this full moon, it's Venus stating the value, stating that it's fixed, stating why it's fixed, and the fact that it's not subjected to change. Then she's going to ingress to Scorpio and square Pluto from Scorpio. And in Scorpio, we see Venus basically taking that fixed value and taking a Martian action to enforce it. This is why people that go, I'm sorry, to watch porn or more than that, they often, whether they're aware or not, the other side of the equation is trafficked. And then they deal with succubus, incubus. Mm-hmm. Draining of their life energy. Sometimes they even date girls. Okay, and if woman is not safe and free, then it's a problem to date both for men and for women. Okay, what we call narcissism is simply a result of intense trauma, and we have both men and women that deal with that. So Venus in Scorpio goes on a journey to enforce her value. And a journey is not always, so it's a journey of uncovering light as well. I had case when I was severely attacked, then somebody came for the rescue, and then there was attraction. And it was very sudden and unexpected how from life risking downright rapey situation to feeling attraction. Completely 180. Now it's not because, not always because someone came for the rescue. Somebody else could come for the rescue, no attraction. Okay? This can also be. But this is where the journey to enforce that value is a journey of transmutation, both for Venus herself, uncovering deeper layers, and particularly what I said now, by the time Venus ingresses to Sagittarius, we will see, and she will also conjoin Lilith, I think, still in Scorpio. So we will see this value in way deeper perspective. Now here I want to give you just a suggestion about Pluto and Aquarius, or the square between Aquarius and Taurus. Just as Aquarius cannot fit into, okay? And this was one of the eurekas that certain energies that even tried to traffic me had. And they realized that just like they are this Aquarian thinking sometimes, it does not necessarily sun in Aquarius, but this Aquarian thinking, this revolutionary futuristic thinking that doesn't fit in with the frame. And for them, they were like the underdog, the one that goes with the hoes and the thugs and the this and the that. Okay? They like mingling with the people. And they had this eureka that just like they don't fit into any frame, for me, with my sexuality, I have Sun in the middle decan of Taurus, I cannot fit into any frame when it comes to for those type of sexualities. It doesn't matter which category of working lady Okay? I fit to none of them. Nor to type of categorical marriage that are always with this energy harvesting, always with this ritualistic thing. And so it's like, it's not going to work. Every single ounce of her being she's going to dedicate to make everything collapse. No matter how much they, from their perspective, try to accommodate. Because it doesn't work. This is why entire Mars in Scorpio, I said, plan for sovereignty, plan for sovereignty, plan for, because people build peace agreements on sending that child to be raped and murdered by that billionaire, by that oligarch, and take a shit ton of drugs to themselves, to, because people, intelligence arranges those things. That's why the Soviet Union fell. They were doing intelligence by raping girls and boys, probably, so that they can have a sex without love and call this sexual liberation. And then either said that one girl, if she does sex without love, she's a whore, and but if she's married, has to be pure or whatnot. Pure, and this is how they marry 12 years old girls, because they're pure. And see, my Slavic colleagues, I know Slavics say it like it is, but they still want to broadcast, and they still want to. They cannot say everything. I would turn people to Lada Duncheva, and people would say, "How come you listen to Lada Duncheva, to this astrologer? They're so, they're sexist, they're this, they're that." I'm like, listen, I don't have to agree with every single word. And now, what after Ukraine and everything is like, well, you know that they cannot talk about nearly any, just like Americans. I had American colleagues, they couldn't talk about the violation of First Amendment 3-4 years ago. I couldn't say the word genocide for 2 years until the UN said genocide. Why? Because on the scale, what more important, to broadcast to you and tend to the topic that is underneath, which is extortion cults, or to say genocide, and then where is Shirley? Did it not look like a satire that the broadcaster from Israel 2 years cannot say genocide? So I dealt with what's underneath, with the rituals, the Nazi ideology, the Nazi occultism, extortion cults, okay? When there was the Me Too, people couldn't speak. It was like Gestapo. Then I had people, it's like nobody could support me publicly. Then I see like of my post about a trafficking attempt, or the wife of the persona, and some of the staff. And a situation like this, the person is so isolated, doesn't trust anyone, doesn't know who is in it, who is. And each one of those personas have several personas because they were tortured to get into that situation. Um, Now this is where I say the value, and this is one of those lunations where people understand, hey, that value is fixed. Hey, we're not dealing with the women that were before the Me Too. We're not dealing with the women that would go into those sexist jokes. I remember even myself, even the satire that I was writing was using a homage to classical culture. And some of these things were still sexist. So I noticed how I needed to purify even entire culture, not from a Puritan place. And it's something that the boxes that the people were used to, this, okay, doesn't fall into any of them. Plus, they planned so much on that not being a fixed value, on that being somehow something that somehow can, that what they need to rethink, replan. And I said, plan for sovereignty. Try to think of situation in my life I think when I tried to work, I said I want to have my creative freedom, 444 as I speak, and I tried to work at jobs. Each job different type of corruption, or if it was cashier, I would get mixed with the counting of the money. Small problems can be easily solved with computer and so on, but so I did not know how much the value of making money from something that I actually enjoy in working conditions that are actually allowing good life and good health was a big issue. I thought I thought this was not a fixed value. Then I became sick and couldn't work in a certain place, ran away, did not have money even to eat, became, I don't know, give me death or give me studies. I myself had to rethink many things in my life, which brought me not only to astrology, but also to study aromatherapy, because it's a combination of creation and transmutation. There are many things that can go along that line, okay? Building the half moons. But that, through crisis, I found, hey, that value is fixed, is not something that I can accommodate. It's non-negotiable. I also had no idea how much astrology is important to me. I was looking at astrology like people look at those how does those things that they were hanging in the bathroom of naked pinup girls. Because for scientists it's such a shame, you know. I had no idea that this thing actually is the nature of Uranus. I was philosophically bothered when people said, oh, something are science and something is like astrology, like pseudoscience. And funnily enough, one of my teachers, Lada Duncheva, she came from Christianity. And there, a person can do astrology and be Christian. Now, with this lunation, the people that, you know, plan their life in a certain way have to rethink. Because all that they were building was building on a certain value not being fixed. And we see this collapse with Mars opposing Uranus Sedna. And so now this Mars is sextile in Pluto. So we can have a deep realization of how a nervous system works and the psychology behind it. It's also an interface between nervous system, artificial and not, and psychology. Even artificial stuff, they latch on or they hang on to certain things that are needing to address as a collective. Now, it is very annoying, I know, but the world is going through tremendous changes. And that's an understatement. This is why it's so overwhelming. Our world is a little bit of a technocratic digital fascism with a Nazi ideology, with things from the days of when they used to castrate artists. And but many esoterics still try to create a human being in the fashion of kind of like the Frankenstein, but with Kabbalah and stuff. And they're insistent on that. Israel, in its early days, had the melting pot doctrine. Until today, it's one of the most scrutinized doctrines ever tried. Melting pot is a nuclear reaction, okay, nuclear fusion. Yes, I talked about the connection with that with ritual abuse, I know. CERN. It was basically a personality cult. People had to change their name, change the this. I know it happened also in the United States and so on, to assimilate and so on. Atsuko jokes about that because she came from Japan, and her name is Atsuko, and her mother name is something like an American name or something like Marilyn or. My name is Shirley. You understand, Shirley is not. There are a lot of Israelis named Shirley, but it was not designed for that purpose. Neither are Dutch people named in all kinds of American names, or even British. By the parents. As a person that holds two citizenships, then I was exposed to what the trajectories behind diplomacy are. Because when they see a person with two passports, people have plans. So now, why was the melting pot unsuccessful? Because people began to crave to know about their ancestors so much that they began to idealize something that is not to be idealized, is not to be completely discarded, but and this is called collective forgetting. Now, for some people, even in diplomatic positions, this is going to be very, 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 very challenging because when they want to extort, what was it, Klaus Schwab, and knock him down for misconduct, this is okay. Then they pull up the cards and so on. But that's their ace card. But when it's actually real, when it's a fixed, now we have to understand the people that didn't think this is a fixed value is because they were violated. Men and women. And a lot of them had to violate. Otherwise, they wouldn't. So it's a rethinking of the foundations of so many things. And this is where the crisis is at. Because something fundamental is explosively being purged. Okay, Mars, supposing you're in a Sedna, something fundamental that no longer serves. And this